Welcome to a Psalm for Sunday. I'm in Psalm 44. This is part 2 of my comments. So I'm going to start in verse 17 today. And I hope you'll watch the previous one, but this is going to be starting in verses 17 to 26. All this has come upon us, yet have we not forgotten thee. Neither have we dealt falsely in thy covenant. Our heart is not turned back, neither have our steps declined from thy way. Though thou hast sore broken us in the place of dragons and covered us with the shadow of death, if we have forgotten the name of our God or stretched out our hands to a strange God, shall not God search this out? For he knoweth the secrets of the heart. Yea, for thy sake are we killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. Awake, why sleepest thou, O Lord? Arise, cast us not off forever. Wherefore hidest thou thy face, and forgettest our affliction and our oppression? For our soul is bowed down to the dust, our belly cleaveth unto the earth. Arise for our help, and redeem us for thy mercy's sake. The psalmist, if you watch the previous part of Psalm 44, has gone from glorifying God and his actions on Israel's behalf to lamenting God's anger at them, to hear in this passage pleading that in spite of the pain God has allowed to come into their lives, they have remained faithful to him. He then pleads with God to deliver them for the sake of his mercies. For verse 17, think of this. Daniel 9:13. As it is written in the law of Moses, all this evil has come upon us, yet may be not our prayer before the Lord our God, that we might turn from our iniquities and understand thy truth. Verse 18 reminds of Job's declaration. Job 23:11. My foot hath held his steps, his ways have I kept and not declined, neither have I gone back from the commandment of his lips. I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. Verse 19, this stuck out to me. Psalm 60, verse 1. O God, thou hast cast us off, thou hast scattered us, thou hast been displeased. O turn thyself to us again. For some reason, the next two verses made me think of Job chapter 31, declaring his own righteousness. Job 31, beginning with verse 1. I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of God is there from above? And what inheritance of the Almighty from on high? Is not destruction to the wicked, and a strange punishment to the workers of iniquity? Doth not he see my ways and count all my steps? If I have walked with vanity, or if my foot hath hasted to deceit, let me be weighed in an even balance, that God may know mine integrity. If my step hath turned out of the way, and mine heart walked after mine eyes, and if any blot hath cleaved to mine hands, then let me sow and let another eat, yea, and let my offspring be rooted out. If mine heart hath been deceived by a woman, or if I have laid wait at my neighbor's door, then let my wife grind into another, and let others bow down upon her. For this is a heinous crime, yea, it is an iniquity to be punished by the judges. For it is a fire that consumeth to destruction, and would root out all mine increase. If I did despise the cause of my manservant, or my maidservant, when they contended with me, what then shall I do when God riseth up? And when he visiteth, what shall I answer him? Did not he that made me in the womb make him? And did not one fashion us in the womb? If I have withheld the poor from their desire, or have caused the eyes of the widow to fail, or have eaten my morsel of myself alone, and the fatherless have not eaten thereof, from my youth he was brought up with me as with a father, and I have guided her from my mother's womb. If I have seen any perish for want of clothing, or any poor without covering, if his loins have not blessed me, and if he were not warmed with the fleece of my sheep, if I have lifted up my hand against the fatherless, when I saw my help in the gate, then let mine arm fall from thy shoulder blade, and mine arm be broken from the bone. For destruction from God was a terror to me, and by reason of his bright highness I could not endure. I have made gold my hope, or have said to the fine gold, thou art my confidence. If I have rejoiced because my wealth was great, and because mine hand had gotten much, if I beheld the sun when it shined, or the moon walking in brightness, and my heart hath been secretly enticed, or my mouth hath kissed my hand, this also were an iniquity to be punished by the judge. For I should have denied the God that is above. If I rejoiced at the destruction of him that hated me, or lifted up myself when evil found him, neither have I suffered my mouth to sin by wishing a curse to his soul. If the men of my tabernacle said not, Oh, that we had of his flesh, we cannot be satisfied. The stranger did not lodge in the street, but I opened my doors to the traveler. If I covered my transgressions as Adam by hiding mine iniquity in my bosom, did I fear a great multitude, or did the contempt of families terrify me, that I kept silence and went not out of the door? Oh, that one would hear me. Behold, my desire is that the Almighty would answer me, and that mine adversary had written a book. Surely I would take it upon my shoulder and bind it as a crown to me. I would declare unto him that in the number of my steps, as a prince would I go near unto him. If my land cry against me, or that the furrows likewise thereof complain, if I have eaten the fruits thereof without money, or have caused the owners thereof to lose their life, let thistles grow instead of wheat, and cockle instead of barley. The words of Job are ended. Now, Paul quotes verse 22 in Romans 8:36. David used a turn of the phrase like in verse 23 earlier, Psalm 7:6. Arise, O Lord, in thine anger, lift up thyself because of the rage of mine enemies, and awake for me to the judgment that thou hast commanded. And then verse 24 suggests also an earlier thought, Psalm 10:1. Why standest thou afar off, O Lord? Why hidest thou thyself in times of trouble? Then Psalm 66:11. Thou broughtest us into the net, thou laidest affliction upon our loins. It is clear to me that there is no lamentation you or I could make, no feeling of being abandoned by God, no sorrow at his judgment or the terrible things he might allow to happen to us, whether we deserved it or not, that isn't reflected in the words of a Bible writer. It's all right here in this book. And I hope that you will pray about this psalm, that you will apply it to your life. Think about it. Now, I'm asking you today to open your Bible, let God speak to you through his word. Study your Bible, cross-reference the verses, and pray to God for wisdom and understanding before you do either one of these things. Then share your interpretation with someone else. Now, you can read my comments and Psalms on my blog. I'll post the link below. But if you've watched this video this far, please click like and subscribe or follow, and share the video with someone else. I look forward to your comments if you have any, your opinions, your interpretation. Thank you.